Okay guys, it's time for the first video in the series that I titled The Obscure Window Manager Project. Remember, I installed 12 different window managers here on Manjaro i3 edition. So the i3 edition of Manjaro is a very minimal version of Manjaro. It has the i3 window manager on it and not much else, so it makes a great base for this little project. And I installed 12 minimalistic window managers, some floating window managers, some tiling window managers, a few I know a little bit about, some I don't know anything about, and I'm ready to go ahead and tackle the first window manager in the series. And I'm going to start with the first one in the list here, FVWM. And the reason I'm going to start with FVWM is it's the first one in the list here, and I think this may actually be one of the more difficult ones for me to take a look at because I don't know anything about it, and the last couple of days reading up on it, I still can't figure out really what this window manager is about. This should be an interesting video, so let's get started. So let me log in here. No, not to open box though, back to FVWM. And this is the default look of FVWM. You have a left-click menu. The left-click menu is basically your application menu. You have your programs, you have your XDG menu, which has all your, standard programs here categorized in accessories, graphics, internet, office, the standard way they're usually categorized on most Linux systems. You have a link to the X terminal and some other stuff. Down at the bottom of the left-click menu, you have refresh. Refresh is the window manager, FVWM. Restart restarts the window manager, and then quit, which just kills the window manager. Don't ever hit quit unless you really want to be logged out of the window manager immediately. There is no warning, there is no confirmation screen. Basically, this is the same as opening up a terminal and kill FVWM. So if you have anything open that you haven't saved your work in, you're going to really regret hitting that. So one of the first things I think we'll do if I was configuring this on a real machine is to get rid of that. Maybe write my own logout script, something that requires, at least one confirmation from me. Hey, do you really want to log out? Yes or no? That sort of thing. And then we also have a right-click menu. The default right-click menu includes things like move, resize, de-iconify, unmaximize, unshade, unsticky. These are window actions. Close, destroy, raise, lower, stay on top, stay put, stay on bottom, identify. And before we get too far along in this review, let me open up a web browser here. I'm going to open up Firefox. And I'm just going to quickly open up the wiki page for FVWM, the Wikipedia page, just to give you some history about it. It is the F Virtual Window Manager. F Virtual Window Manager. The F does not stand for anything officially. The developers joke that you can include any F word you like for the F in FVWM. So, originally this was derived from TWM. TWM is another window manager I know nothing about that I'm going to review in this series. It is one of my 12 obscure window managers I'm going to take a look at. FVWM has evolved into a powerful and highly configurable environment for Unix-like systems. History, it looks like the development of FVWM began all the way back in 1993. So, a very old window manager. Wiki includes a diagram here of the lineage of FVWM. You see TWM from 1988, then FVWM grew out of that, 1993, and Window Maker, I guess, is derived from FVWM, and then also in the tree here you have all these other spin-offs from FVWM. I don't recognize any of them except Afterstep started development in 1996. I've heard of that window manager. I don't know anything about it. Enlightenment also began in 1996. I do know a little bit about it. Enlightenment. while I have this Wikipedia page open, I want to show you something. You see, by default, we have this grid over here of 4 squares, and you can see our Firefox icon in this square here. I guess this is sort of like virtual desktops of some sort. We have 0, 1, 2, 3, so like 4 different virtual desktops. 0, I guess, is desktop 1. 1, I guess, is our second desktop. And then we have 2 and 3, back to 0. And the squares, I guess, are like workspaces within the desktops, is what I'm assuming. I really am not exactly sure how that operates. Again, I've played around in this for a couple of days now, you know, for a few hours. And this still is kind of confusing how they have that laid out. Also, when I minimize the windows, where does it go? There's no taskbar at the bottom. There's this bar on the side. And if you notice right here, and now it's always showing, but that minimizes and maximizes the window. The clock at the bottom, I don't think clicking on it does anything. You know, left clicking on it does nothing. Right clicking on it does nothing. I don't think the mouse wheel click does anything either. No, nothing for the clock, at least not in the default configure. Again, this is the standard default config of FVWM right here. I'm going to play around with it a bit and see what I can change. Just goofing off. Again, I have absolutely no idea exactly where I'm going to go with this. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do is left click on the desktop and go to the XDG menu here. And under accessories, I have File Manager. This is the PC Man FM File Manager. I'm not sure if I installed that or if it was the file manager of choice on Manjaro i3. I think it was already installed. In our home folder, we have a hidden folder called .fvwm. That, of course, is where our FVWM config files are going to be located. By default, there's not one in here, though. The only thing there is a symlink to the background, the wallpaper here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new empty file. I'm going to call it config. And we need to go pull down the default config out of the root file system. I believe it is found in user/share/fvwm. Yeah, it is found in user/share/fvwm/default-config. And then this config file, we need to basically copy that into our home directory .fvwm. Alright, and I've copied that default config over just to make sure that everything is working. I'm going to left click on the desktop again. I'm going to hit restart. This restarts FVWM, and everything should still look the same. No, actually the wallpaper changed. I wonder why that happened. Probably because when I moved the config to the home directory, the hidden folder in the home directory, it messed up the location of where that default wallpaper is. So I'm gonna go back to our home directory. I'm gonna go into .fvwm. I'm gonna open the config file. I'm gonna open it in Genie. I've already installed Genie on this system. Genie was not installed by default. And here is our FVWM config file. Again, this is the default config file. I haven't touched it. So this is the same as the first time you install it. And here in the config file, you can see that it's going to look for a background image in the .fvwm directory /images/background. Now, we didn't create that directory, the /images/background directory inside .fvwm. So that's why it just defaulted to, I guess, whatever default wallpaper is for FVWM. So we could create that directory and then add whatever wallpaper we want to, as long as we make a call to it here in this particular section. I don't think I'm going to play around, though, here in the default config, because really, I mean, just for sake of time, I could spend a week playing with this default config and then having to edit much of the menu. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull down somebody else's config of FVWM just to see how they set up FVWM, because again, I'm not really sure exactly where I'm going with this, to be honest. So I'm going to pull down something from Github, I think. And the GitHub repo that I found was a guy named Liux Ui Yang, some kind of Asian name. I'll put a link to it in the show note descriptions though, and I'm going to pull down his FVWM config file, and I've already pasted it here in Genie. Let's see what it looks like. So I left click on the desktop, I click restart. Okay, and this is his desktop. Actually, that isn't his desktop. Things don't quite look right because I only copied over his config file. He also had icon set, a window theme, and some other stuff I needed to copy over here. So now that I've done that successfully, now let me restart FVWM. Alright, and this is his desktop. Let me minimize some of these. Oh, he's got them when you minimize, they become tiles here on the left side of the screen. That's pretty cool. And then his little workspace grid is 3 by 3, so he's got 9. He's got 3 different, I guess, desktops with 9 workspaces on them. I'm not exactly sure if that's the terminology that FVWM uses for this little grid. This little grid is confusing too. For example, if you notice that when I was moving my mouse around, I actually moved to other grids on the screen. If I go to the top, it moves me back to the top. Move over here, move down. I start moving down the grids. I don't know if you guys can see the grid changing, but I can click back on the one I was on, which is the first, I guess, desktop, the middle grid and the top row. Anyway, it's kind of confusing because when you're moving your mouse around on the screen, you end up really all over the place. So that's one thing I'm really not liking about FVWM. But so far, you know, it's kind of interesting. So let's start playing around with this config, because I think this is interesting to work with. The way he's got the grids here, he's got these, I guess, tiles when you minimize the windows, and he's almost got like this dock-like thing going on here with these quick launchers. First thing I want to see with these quick launchers is, do they actually work? I click on the terminal, nothing happens. So I'm going to go through his config and see what terminal he was using. Okay, he is using URXVT. Let me zoom in the font there so you guys can see what's happening here. He has this function here called FVWM term. So he's setting the terminal here. And he's got URXVT set as his terminal. That's what he was using on his system. On this instance of Manjaro, I installed Termite as my terminal, so that is why that launcher is not working. I'm going to set it to Termite, so I'm going to change URXVT to Termite. Click Save. Let me restart FVWM. Now, when I click this launcher, alright, the Termite terminal launches. So, already making some progress here. One thing I also noticed about his config, the left click menu. The first thing in the menu is a run command program. Nothing happens when I click that. The run command program he was using, again, he has this function called FVWM launch for his launcher here. And it was set to XFCE4-App Finder. I installed Rofi on this instance of Manjaro, so I'm going to type the Rofi command I use, Rofi space dash show space run. I'm going to save that. Now let me restart FVWM again. Now when I do that run command, Rofi launches. Toward the top of his config, some of the other stuff he has set. He has Audacious set to, for his music player. I installed Deadbeat. Deadbeat is a really nice lightweight music player, so I'm going to change what he has the music player set to /user/bin/deadbeef. That's the executable binary for Deadbeef. He has video player as VLC. I like VLC. I'll leave that. I'd installed VLC. His editor, his text editor is Emacs. Wow. No. I mean, I can live in Vim a little bit. Emacs, no. But really, I would go with Nano if I wanted a terminal-based text editor. But you know what? LeafPad works. You know what? I'm already in Genie. Genie is the program I'm in right now. Let's just stick with Genie as our text editor for this video. Okay guys, I had to log in and log back out of FVWM to get the wallpaper to set. That's all it took. I guess just restarting FVWM from that left click menu didn't get the FEH program to automatically load the background image for us. You actually had to log out and log back in, but it's working correctly. Anyway, beautiful desktop already. I can see this guy's config file, why he really liked this and put it on GitHub and saved it. It's a really nice looking background. The transparent dock and pager here that he has looks pretty good, but I don't want to just copy somebody else's stuff, you know. I want to make this my own. So I'm going to pull the config file here back up. And one of the things I think I want to try to do is move the pager and the dock around a little bit. For one thing, that pager that's over here in the bottom left, I actually think it made more sense where it was in the default config over here on the left side of the screen over here. In the default config, it was over here. You notice when I move the mouse to the actually the right side of the screen over here, you know, we changed positions in the pager here. If I swing my mouse back to the left, we move over. You know, that's kind of off-putting, really. I'm not used to that. I guess if I lived in FVWM for a little while, I'd get used to it. But yeah, I'm not really liking that. Anyway, on the pager here, we have FVM pager. We have the geometry set to 320 by 100 plus 0 minus 0. Now I'm assuming the plus 0 minus 0 is our position on the screen here. Obviously 320 by 100 is the size. If I change the plus 0 minus 0, how about changing that first plus 0 to minus and see what that does? I bet it changes position from top to bottom. No, it changes from left to right. Close enough though. Alright. That's actually the side of the screen I wanted it on. So then we changed the minus 0 to plus 0. You know what? Let me go ahead and zoom this back in. When I logged out and back in, I forgot to zoom in here on Genie so you guys can see what I'm doing. So originally this was plus 0 minus 0. I changed it to minus 0 plus 0. Save. Left click on the desktop, restart FVWM, and now that pager is in the top right instead of the bottom left, and it's set to 320 by 100 width, 320 pixels by 100 pixels, and the rows are 1 row and 3 columns. Right? 1 row, 3 columns. You know what? How about 3 rows, 1 column, and how about changing this to 100 by 320. Not sure if that's actually going to do what I'm trying to do, but let's see. Yeah, and now we have the grids, you know, one on top of each other instead of side by side and on the right hand side of the screen. Pretty cool. I notice we have some color sets set. The pager color set, and asterisk 9. What if I change that to color set 7? There's color sets 1 through 10 or so set throughout the config. I'm just going to pick a random color set and see what happens. Restart FVWM. And did that change anything? I think it changed the top color, the highlighted color here. Let me undo that. Restart FVWM. Make sure I didn't imagine that. Yeah, I think I did. I don't think that did anything. What if I change this one here to 7 and this one to 7? I'm just going to start messing around with some of the colors. And none of that changed anything either. I think it's because the colors don't matter too much in his config. The color sets, what they're set to, is because he's using some transparency. Yeah, in his color set 7, which was the one I was trying to change, I actually didn't look at what it was. He is using some transparencies here. So what if I get rid of all the transparencies? So let's say I get rid of all of that, which is the white transparency he's using. Get rid of that. And yeah, instead of a foreground being black, how about foreground white? Because I want white text and I want the background to be dark. How about 272727? Of course, I have to do a pound symbol before that. And for the highlighting, I'll also do 272727. Let's save that. And go back down here to where the pager was. And let's see. We'll change that to 7. That to 7. That to 7. Let's see. Ooh. That did not do what I thought it might do. Let's change color set 10 here to color set 9. Okay, and I've got it as a black background now. I changed color set 7 and 8 here. The 272727 color is our dark background color here in the grids now. Still have some transparencies that's showing the background of the page. I actually don't mind that. I may leave that. If I had a darker background, that actually would kind of fit in, just having it the grid we're currently in transparent. Kind of a neat effect. Alright, this little dock-like thing here at the bottom. It is called My Buttons here in this guy's config. He's got it at 420 by 60 as the size. Plus 320 minus 0 is the position. How about plus 0 minus 0 as the position? Let's restart FVWM. And now that puts it over at the bottom left corner. I think that makes sense. Also, I would like to add some stuff to this. I would like to change his launchers. Half the launchers he has are not going to work for me because I haven't installed those programs, and I don't intend to use some of these programs. I already mentioned Audacious. I don't plan on using it. He has locations for his icons. You know what? I'm going to open up GIMP and create my own icons. And I'm going to make my own launchers. So to start this, I'm going to left click on the desktop. I'm going to choose Run here to launch Rofi. And about sudo pcman fm. And I guess Rofi is not going to let me do that. How about just pcman fm? Okay, why is Rofi not launching? Maybe I typed it wrong. I wasn't really paying attention to what I was typing. No, it's definitely not launching it. Okay, well, if I just click it with the mouse here in Rofi, will it launch pcman fm? Yeah, it will. I wonder what the deal with that was. You can try this one more time. I know this has nothing to do with FVWM, but I'm just wondering why. Ah, I see why. It was still trying to run that sudo pcman fm command. It was trying to be smart and guessing what I was trying to type. Alright, anyway. When you open up your file manager, user, share, icons, and I'm just going to pick an icon set here. You know what? I may install an icon set because I don't really like any of these. The vibrancy is not bad, but I like an icon set called Maya. Maya cursor is here, but this is a cursor theme. I'm going to pull down the Maya icon set from the Arch repos. So I'm going to download it from the AUR, so Yowert dash capital S Maya dash icon theme, I believe. And it's going to ask me for my password. And that installed. Now from the terminal, you know what? I'm going to launch sudo pcman fm /user/share/icons. And the Maya icon set is now in there. And I'm going to go to apps, scalable, and I'm just going to start opening some of these in GIMP, sizing them to a particular size. Now he's using 48 by 48 icons. I think I'm going to half that at least. I'm going to do 24 by 24 icons. So Deadbeat. Let me right click on Deadbeat. I'm going to choose GIMP. I'm going to edit this in GIMP. This is a scalable vector graphic, a SVG. I'm going to resize it to 24 by 24, change the resolution a little bit, and then I'm going to export this as a ping file. So deadbeat.ping, and I'm actually not going to save it in user share icons. I want to save it in my .fvm folder in my home folder. And the 48 by 48 icon set here is this guy's icons that he was using. I created this off camera, this 24 by 24 set of icons with a few launchers here. And now I'm going to put my own launchers instead of his. I'm just going to plug in mine and plug in my programs here. And I'm going to change this dock at the bottom. So I plugged in my stuff. I'm going to restart FVWM, and here are my icons. Pretty cool. Now, because my icons are 24 by 24, I don't need the bar so tall. I need to change the height of the bar, because right now it's set to, I don't know, at least 60, maybe 80 pixels. Looks like geometry right here, 420 by 60, and then the position +0, -0, which we set to the bottom left here. I'm going to change this by 60 to by 40. Let's see what that does. Restart FVWM. Oh yeah, that looks nice there. I like that. Now the transparent background, I think I want to change to a dark background like I did this, just to match. So the color set that was the dark background for the pager was color set 7. We change this to color set 7. Left click on the desktop, restart FVWM, and now my dock here is dark colored, just like this. Now I wonder if I could add a second dock, of separate different programs. So if I copied everything here for this particular dock, I'm just going to copy it. Then you know what? I'm just going to paste it again. Now we can't have the position in the same position because it's just going to cover up the first dock. So let me change the position a little bit. I'm going to move it over about 500 pixels. No, not 5,000. 500 pixels. Save. Restart. Okay. It doesn't have two separate docks. I probably can't have both of them called My Buttons. I probably have to label one of them as My Buttons 2 or something else. So here was the original dock, My Buttons. Here's this one. I just changed everything to My Buttons 2, but I don't think just doing that is going to work because this My Buttons function is defined somewhere toward the top of this file. Let me find it. Alright, here it is. About halfway down the config file. You have this here. I'm going to copy this line here. Now I'm just kind of winging this, guys. I'm not sure what this is going to do. But I'm going to add a second line, and this time I'm going to add My Buttons 2 here, save. I'm going to restart. Let's see if I have two docks now. I do, but I have window control buttons at the top of this. That's actually pretty cool, but that's not exactly what I was trying to do. And I can actually move that around. I don't think I could move this one around any. Wow, that is actually really, really neat, actually. Huh. So let's see exactly how we messed this up. So there's something we did not do on My Buttons 2 that was done on My Buttons 1. You know what? I bet the part right before My Buttons 1 here that says Style, My Buttons, no title, handles, no borders. That makes sense, not having a title or a border around it. I also need to add that right before this one. Save that. Restart FVWM. No, that wasn't it either. Because I forgot to rename this as My Buttons 2, the part that I pasted. Restart it again. And there we go. Now we have two different docks. Of course, they're completely identical right now, but they don't have to be. I could change this, and I think I will. And I created the second dock. I put it on the bottom right, and I put my music control buttons here, basically. I created icons and launchers for my Deadbeat music player. You have previous and next, and then we have stop and start here. So they should control the Deadbeat media player. And guys, I'm going to upload all these configs when I'm done. I'm going to go ahead and upload them to my GitHub page. And as promised, I told you guys I would probably save the VirtualBox disk image and put it on SourceForge. I am going to do that. Now, it's not going to be a pretty desktop because, again, I haven't spent that much time with this and I'm kind of goofing around. But you guys will at least be able to see some of what I've played around in. Maybe you guys will take it in a completely different direction. But anyway, I'm going to share my work. One thing I wanted to change since I did this black panel and pager is change this background. I'm not into anime backgrounds anyway. I'm just going to pull a standard Linux wallpaper down from the internet and change the wallpaper. Right, I downloaded my wallpaper, saved it here in the -FVWM/images/wallpaper folder, and I added it to the config file here somewhere. I'm not going to bother finding it, but it's there. Let's restart FVWM. And the wallpaper, of course, doesn't change. As I mentioned before, with FEH, we do have to log out. So I'm going to quit FVWM. Takes us back to the login manager. And log right back into FVWM. And voila. There's my wallpaper, our panels here. You guys also probably noticed that Rofi launched on startup. I added that to the config file. Let me show you how I did that. Right here, basically where the wallpaper stuff is, that is actually an auto start portion of the config. It automatically launches the Compton compositor, which I installed. I didn't record that, but the Compton compositor is working here. Then the next line is our wallpaper. And then the third line I added, this execute rofi-show space run. That means as soon as we log in, the first thing that's going to happen is the Rofi launcher is going to launch. Why? Because I like it. You know, I think, you know, as soon as you're already at the keyboard when you log in, that Rofi launcher pops up. You just keep typing to launch whatever it was you were logging in to do anyway. So it's a personal preference for me. You guys can change that. You can add whatever you want for auto start, or you can get rid of all the auto start. Completely up to you guys. I didn't like the theme of that Rofi though. I'm going to play around with it a bit too. So I need to go to the home folder. We need to go to our .config folder. There should be a folder for Rofi in the .config folder. There isn't, but that's not a problem. We just create one. We create a folder. We have to name it Rofi. This is where the Rofi config files live. Now I need to write a Rofi config file and theme it to match the color of my background. Alright, so I saved my Rofi config file. I restarted FVWM. So now when I launch Rofi, there are some errors. I must have not typed something right. Yeah, I didn't type the location of that theme correctly. Let me restart FVWM again now that I've corrected that. Now when I choose run here in the menu, there is Rofi, more appropriately themed for what I was going for here. By the way, the Rofi that is in the run menu here, I have this Manjaro icon here in this dock also set to Rofi. So pretty cool stuff. This is, you know, kind of how I would set it up for myself. You know, we also have the file manager here. Again, when we minimize, they go over here. I actually, just for consistency, I would probably put that up under here. I would probably tile these probably the same width as the pager and just have these tiles you know, just list themselves right here on the right hand side of the screen instead of over on the left. But anyway, I right click on that tile, by the way, to get that to unminimize. Close that out. By the way, let me show you the Deadbeat Launchers here. I hit the play button down here. That should launch Deadbeat. Did I not install it? I may not have. Let me sudo pacman -S Deadbeat. I was pretty sure I had that installed, but I guess I missed that when I was setting up this virtual machine. Alright, then let me restart FVWM, even though I don't think it's necessary. But now, when I click this, yeah, Deadbeat, if I had music on this virtual machine, I don't. that would have launched Deadbeat and automatically started playing it. The previous track here obviously goes to the previous track. The next track goes to the next track, and so forth and so on. And that really is, I mean, just a surface look at configuring FVWM. What I didn't show you was the title bars, the icon, the window decorations here. That's all configurable here in this image folder from this guy's config. Under decor, we have the backgrounds for the title bar. You see, this is actually image files here behind the text here. You can edit these in GIMP, change the colors, change it to whatever you want. Very configurable because it's all images. The same thing with the buttons. The window buttons are just images. Just open these in GIMP, create your own buttons for the windows. I'm not going to do that here on camera. Briefly mention some of the things that I didn't go over here. I pulled up the FVWM Arch Wiki page. Let's see. There's so much more to it. I mean, it is a very configurable window manager. One thing I would mention is, let's see, where is it? Menus, right here. Dynamic menus. You guys know I love the dynamic menu feature of OpenBox. You know, that's where, you know, these menus are not static. They can change. You create a program, you know, for like some menu, you know, and it runs a script, and whatever that information just happens to be, that's what's going to appear in the menu. It's a dynamic menu, constantly changing. So I love that feature in OpenBox. Apparently that feature is available here in FVWM. I do not know exactly how it works, but I may play around with it at a later date. And I'm not sure as far as, does FVWM do any kind of tiling? Because I did see some screenshots that looked like people were doing some tiling with it. It does mention window tiling. The following functions can tile a window to the left half, right half, top half, bottom half of the screen. So you do have that functionality. So that's pretty cool. So there are some basic tiling functionalities to FVWM. But guys, I mean, I've spent 2 or 3 days looking at FVWM here in a virtual machine before doing this video, and again, I'm still kind of confused exactly what FVWM is all about. You know, I would probably have to live in it for a month or two to really figure out exactly all the features and functions, how to configure it. And one of the problems with FVWM I found in the last couple of days is there's not a ton of information out there. There is no like FVWM website. I mean, I guess there is kind of an official website. I didn't link to it, but it's sparse on information. It's not good documentation on it at all, and there's not a lot of people running FVWM out there. Not anybody really. So you can't ask anybody, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? You ask this in a Linux forum or Linux chat room about FVWM, you're probably not going to get much help. So that's one thing to consider. But that being said, I mean, for a window manager that's been around for, what was it, since 1993, so 25 years this window manager has been around. It's still a pretty sharp looking window manager, still very functional. I could live in this, to be honest. I mean, if I configured it for my workflow, I'd have no problem living in it. So I'm actually pretty glad I took a look at this. I'm not sure if I will revisit FVWM down the road because, again, this is a series of 12 obscure window managers, so I still have 11 other obscure window managers to take a look at. I don't think any of them are going to be as difficult as this one is, because this one I just wasn't really sure what to do with. I mean, some of the others, I mean, they may look more difficult, some of the tiling window managers, especially like Xmonad, that you have to write a config file, but I at least know how they're supposed to look once I'm done. I don't know what a proper FVWM desktop looks like. Every screenshot I see of FVWM looks completely different, and they're all from 10 years ago. You know, you can't ask anybody, again, hey, what does your FVM desktop look like? Nobody's really running it. You know, it's kind of a little niche. I mean, there's a handful of people out there probably still using this thing after all these years. There's not a lot of development going on with FVWM either. I want to say the last update was over 2 years ago. I could be wrong about that, but I know it was at least over a year ago. Sometime in 2016, I think, now that I think about it. So not quite 2 years. But anyway, that's my first look at FVWM. Again, I'm going to upload my configs, at least to this point, to probably GitHub. I'll link them. And then I'm going to upload this VirtualBox disk image to SourceForge. I will link that. All you guys have to do, just download the VirtualBox disk image. If you have VirtualBox installed on your machine, import that disk image, and you have this. Just in case I forget to post it. The login is DT. Password is DT. Peace, guys.